We can probably go ahead and get started, and there might be some folks who join us along the way. And this meeting will be recorded and it will be posted on the town website and the project website so that people can come back and look at it after the fact as well. And so that's one of the benefits of doing an online meeting like this. So let's go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining us. This meeting is the first public meeting, first virtual meeting regarding the Princeville Comprehensive Plan and Ordinance Update. We're going to be telling you more about that and what it means for the town. Wanted to kind of do some welcome and introductions and talk about the plan, its purpose and the schedule, how to get involved, a little bit of background, and then have some discussion. As far as the Zoom participation, you can click to go to the chat box and enter a question that you have so that we can answer it later, or if you have a comment, feel free to put it in there. Towards the end of the presentation, we'll have some opportunity for discussion. If you would like to talk, just raise your hand. There should be a way to do that, or push Alt and Y on the computer, and we can recognize you, and you can talk and provide some feedback there. Dr. Knight, do you want to lead us off and just talk a little bit about the plan, and then we'll introduce ourselves?
Okay, yes, thank you so much, Jake, and thank you everyone for joining this very important meeting. As Jake mentioned, the town contracted and went into an agreement with Stewart Incorporated to do a comprehensive plan for the town of Princeville. This plan is required by the state of North Carolina, and it is put in place or being developed to assist with the direct development of opportunities and infrastructure decisions, as well as reinforce community identity. So we are super excited about this new comprehensive plan, and I'm glad that you all are joining us this evening to find out more about the plan and also offer your feedback. So thank you so much, Stuart, for the magnificent job that you're doing on behalf of the town of Princeville.
And thanks for that, Dr. Knight. Dr. Knight is the town manager of Princeville, so she's a really critical staff person. Andrew Delano is also on the line as a panelist, and he is Director of Community and Economic Development for the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Governments, who's also playing a key role in this. Who are we? My name is Jake Petrosky. I work for Stewart, a consultant firm out of Raleigh. We also are joined by Shaquisha Colon and Allison Evans as well, the planners that will be working on this plan, and then our boss Chad Sari will also be involved in the plan as well. And I'm going to hand it over to Allison, and she can go over the plan purpose and also the schedule.
Thank you, Jake. So a comprehensive plan, as Dr. Knight mentioned, will be the guiding policy document for the town. We like to think of it as documenting a community conversation. It's done by speaking to the community and speaking with the residents and finding out what they envision for their town. So it's a back and forth. It has goals to improve the quality of life and opportunities, like Dr. Knight mentioned. It will promote public health, safety, and welfare. It will guide and manage change, which Princeville is no stranger to, and to protect property values and investments. It'll address infrastructure, a variety of things. All right, next slide, Jake. Excuse me. So like I mentioned, a comprehensive plan is by the town and for the town. We know there have been a lot of planning efforts and people that have come into Princeville in the last 10 or so years, but this is one that will be adopted by the town and really is done through the voice of the people. Next slide. So to give an overview on a comprehensive plan, what the state statutes refer to it as. They are a tool that will be required of every town in North Carolina. They are the principal tool for community planning. They need to be as collaborative as possible, public participation, opportunities like these, which normally might be in person in other, other years, to get that key citizen and stakeholder participation. They have a 10 to 20 year timeline, so really looking out into the future. And they examine the interconnectedness between land uses, transportation, utilities, recreation, everything affects each other. And we're looking at everything that affects quality of life in Princeville. One key thing to note, this note at the bottom, they are not regulations. They are policy documents and they inform changes. So whenever the town council, Dr. Knight, are making decisions that affect Princeville, they'll look at this plan and see whether it is in line with that conversation that we've documented. They address a variety of things and they're all interconnected. Things like the environment, infrastructure, economic development and opportunities, like Dr. Knight mentioned, parks and open space, land use and housing. Every town has, addresses each part in different amounts, and don't think that these circles mean any one of these is less important than the other. They're all equally vital and will be addressed in the plan. So as we're looking ahead, this comprehensive plan is step one in the project that Stuart is working with Princeville with. So that'll be the policy document. That's not the hard regulations. It is required by the state for the town to have a plan like this. And then once this plan is in place, Stuart will be working with the town on their zoning ordinance, which is the nuts and bolts of how we make these things happen in Princeville. It'll look a little more technical at lot sizes and setbacks and how do we subdivide land, all these new parcels. So yeah, you can go ahead, Jake. So this particular plan, we're on phase 2, which is analysis and visioning, where we engage the community and also look at data, gather data, look at previous plans. But it's more important to listen. We have the community survey, we have this and other engagement opportunities, and we really wanted to find what are the major issues facing Princeville. So we hope to have this adopted in the summer. So Jake can tell you more.
So how do you get involved during the process? As Allison mentioned, public input is really important with this. This is meant to be the town plan. So the guiding document, that will look at how to address major issues in the town, for 3 to 5 years or maybe even longer. There's a couple different public engagement opportunities and ways for you to provide feedback. The virtual meeting tonight, and this will be also posted on the website for viewing later. There's a community survey, which we'll share the link with. There's an interactive map that you can do on your phone or tablet or your computer. And then we are going to have some additional meetings moving forward. We might have an in-person meeting in March that we'll talk about a little bit later, and then some other online meetings to provide updates along the way. There will also be a public hearing prior to adoption. So the public survey link, surveymonkey.com/r/Princeville 2021 is the link to the community survey. The project website for more information, you can go to the town website, but you can also go to the project website, princevilletownplan.com, and find out more information on the plan. And all these links are going to be on the town's website and the project website as well. If you wanted to provide some specific feedback via the interactive map, this is just a way for us to capture your comments on a map, and you can tell us where community assets are, things that need to be preserved, where maintenance or safety issues are in the community, where you think new development should occur, where you think new sidewalks should be, or stormwater concerns are, or just anything you have. That's that link there that you can get to that. And it should work on a phone or tablet or computer. So if you have any questions, feel free to go to the chat and type those in about the plan or the process, and we can pick those up along the way. And now Jaquacia is going to talk a little bit about the background and analysis that we've done so far. I'll turn it over to you, Jaquesha.
Thanks, Jake. So as I mentioned before, there's been a number of plans produced for the town, and the intensity of the planning efforts have really intensified the past 5 years. Between the result of Hurricane Matthew and the resulting recovery plan, and then the Tar River Basin plan, and the flood print, as well as the home place plan. So these have all been done very recently. Go to the next slide. Okay, next slide. So we've been crunching all these data bits that are in these plans, and we're going to be using them to produce existing conditions maps, as well as just overlaying all this data together so we can see how things relate to what's on the ground today and how we can possibly infer the actual land use and then later on zoning recommendations we'll be making. So I think these plans are all available on the town's website currently, and also on the project website as well.
Is it not moving forward, Jaquesha?
It did now, yeah.
Okay, we're on the flood print. Okay.
Yes. The flood print plan is the most recent one, and we have been able to talk directly to the project team behind that one as well to directly see how the results from the surveys and plan analysis can further influence this plan. So we'll be taking some of this background from this plan and putting it into actual code recommendations. Can you go to the next slide? I think I heard you click. It is kind of slow.
It's on the bringing everything together slide.
Okay. So again, from the previous plans that have been produced, we've taken all that data and compiled them over the study area, as well as brought in additional data from NCDOT and environmental data as well on top of that. So you can find these maps that are currently here and more on the princevilletownplan.com website for further detail. And recently, Jake and I took a trip down to Princeville and rode around with Mr. Porter from Town Hall. And we were able to see a lot of stuff on the ground and also check in with current projects that are happening in the recovery period. So Town Hall is well underway, as well as the Senior Center, which is literally rising from the earth. And there are even more ongoing projects that you can find also on the project website. I think there's 13 or 14 current recovery projects that are happening right now. So you can find those there. And Dr. Knight, if you have anything you want to add about the process of the Town Hall and the Senior Center, as far as when they might be complete?
Absolutely, I will. As it relates to the Town Hall, as you can well see, and this has further developed since this picture, the anticipated open or transfer over ownership back to the town of Princeville will likely be sometime in March, probably around March 17th, the second or third week of March. And as it relates to the Senior Center, they are moving quite expediently. And we're hoping sometime in the late 2021 that it should be open and ready for services.
Thank you
And
so
Drew,
much.
did you want to add anything?
No, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
All right, move to this town limits and study area equation.
So you can see here the town limits are in black. The ETJ, which is the planning jurisdiction, is in the red dashed line, and the study area is everything within the pink border. And that is what we've been focusing our attention on for the project is everything within that study area. So all of the demographic data, which you can go to the next slide, Jake, relates to what's within that study area.
Yeah.
So this population estimate came from the town, and the other information came from Esri and US Census estimations. So obviously we have people who are still not able to come back to their homes in Princeville, and a vacancy rate may or may not be accurate, but this is what is projected from the US Census data.
And that's in line with what we've heard. I mean, there's a lot of folks that just haven't been able to return yet to their homes. So that's probably close.
Yep. So I think that's what I have for demographics data. So from all the data that we've collected so far, as well as the previous plan efforts, there are some issues that we're seeing already. Obviously, flood mitigation and recovery, defining these land use areas and setting standards and guidelines, and how that will also be applied to new annexations, job creation, economic development, preserving and maintaining the history of the town of Princeville, and building up the areas around Main Street, around the museum, and also attracting and retaining residents and providing more recreation activities.
So those are some of the merging issues, but if there's something that really needs to be looked at, then let us know through the survey or through the chat window that we need to be aware of and be thinking about when we create this plan. Another kind of emerging issue, thing that we really want to talk about in this plan is the new parcels that the town owns. One is the 53-acre parcel down near US 64, and then another 88-acre parcel of land located near Greenwood Boulevard and Shiloh Farm Road. We want to have a land use plan in here that talks about the future use of these lands and what could go there, how to connect those new parts of the town to the older parts of the town, and also provides for some opportunity for connecting to US 64 and new town facilities, commercial, and some new residential as well. The 53 acres is located southern part of town, right near US 64, kind of between US 64 alternate and really Main Street and Shiloh Farm Road. There has been a little bit of study on this property. There are some grant funds available to put some infrastructure in. And what's envisioned here is some of the town services might move out here, such as the fire department. But there also could be some other town services. There could be some residential and also some commercial as part of this property in the future. The 88 acres over near Greenwood Boulevard and Shiloh Farm Road, there's been less planning and things decided for it. It does have good access from Greenwood Boulevard and Shiloh Farm Road. It has a history of farming and agriculture on the property. And then there's potential for continuing agriculture in the short term. The town could lease the land, but long term, there could be new homes here. There could be recreation. There could be a combination of those things on this property, and that's something that we want to kind of look at the options and opportunities there. So that's something that we want to get feedback on. So what would you all like to see on the new properties that the town owns? And you can enter those in the chat window, or you can tell us via the survey. So again, if you are attending, and if you want to submit anything via the chat, a question or a comment, please do so. If you would like to talk and say something or ask a question, you could raise your hand and we'll unmute you, and you can do that too. So one of the main things that we want to know during this phase of the project, before we get too far down the road, is what is your top priority issue that should be addressed in the plan? And again, you can enter those questions in the chat window, or you can and raise your hand, and we'll pause for a few minutes here to see if anybody has anything. And then if not, we'll move on to next steps and talk about kind of what's coming next. Okay, I got somebody wants to talk. Linda Joyner. You should be able to unmute yourself if you can find that.
Am I good?
Yep, I can hear you, Linda. Speak up.
Okay, great. This is Commissioner Joyner. And I'm sorry for joining late. I had problems logging on, and you may have already talked about this a little bit. I think, and we probably talked about it in meetings. One of my greatest areas of concern, really more recreation for the young people, and events, not event center, but like a recreation center. We want to grow our young people and especially now during the pandemic time, our youth have been closed in so long, and I just feel like they need to stretch out. And when the time comes that we will be able to reopen the world, and I would definitely love to try to find out what we can do to get a recreation center, or I know we have the park area, but something that could be more structured, that we structured programs that we can offer, and also to grow our senior citizen department. Those are two of my major concerns.
Thanks, Linda. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's something that we can certainly look at. And one of the things that we have up on our kind of follow-up to-do list is talked with Edgecombe County and Tarboro and find out what their plans are, short-term, long-term, for programming, and where they see their needs, and how does that potentially dovetail with the town's needs as well. And there could be some partnerships that are available that you all might not be able to do everything on your own, but coordinating with other partners or finding grant funding, and that's certainly something that we can look into.
That's great. And then of course, Jacob, I do have one other concern, and I'm not sure whether this is the time to address it or not, but our historical district, our Mount Zion, to restructure the Mount Zion church, and our other historical, the Wooten House, is another concern.
So those structures specifically are your concern?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What are kind of the current needs or plans now? What has been done for those? I mean, we saw those, but can you give us some background or elaborate?
Well, the church basically still belongs to the members, and I understand they're probably the members. Most of them are very older citizens, and it probably have. The last time we talked with the I believe it was one of the deacons of the church, and there's another young lady that we talked to who was one of the trustees, and they probably only have, maybe if it's 6 members, that's about it. We had talked with them one time about the possibility of them turning the church over to the Town of Princeville so that we could get it renovated and utilized as a part of our historical district, and maybe as a tourist site. We just haven't talked a whole lot about those things recently, and the Wooten House for us getting it renovated. The Wooten House is now the oldest home in Princeville. that's over 100 years old.
How are they structurally? I mean, do they survive the floods, or they still need to be renovated from that?
Yeah, they still need to be renovated. Now, the outside structure, well, especially for the Mount Zion Church, seem to be still very much intact. The Wooten House has quite a bit of, and Dr. Knight, you may can jump in to help me out with this. Still look like it has quite a bit of structural. Well, of course, it's still standing, and it has been throughout all of the floods. So it seemed to have quite it must be very doable, because it has been, it has stood throughout all of the floods. Of course, we know the inside is totally, you know, demolished.
Mm-hmm. And Ms. Joyner, or maybe Dr. Knight, like who's kind of the expert on that history of those two structures, and is there somebody that we can talk to find out more about it? You know, I think, you know, one of the things that we like to do with a plan like this is also just document important things, important structures, and educate as part of it. So, you know, talk about how those structures are important to the town. How could they be renovated potentially in the future, but also why are they important, and provide a history.
So thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So right now we have Creative Savage, Mr. Heroin and his team. They are preserving the artifacts on the property of the Wooten House. And they have been doing that for about a month, and actually did a presentation, a display before the board on our last meeting in January, and actually found some very unique items as they are doing digging and going in different pits on the property of the Wooten structure. So they would be ideal to get information from. And also our new historical coordinator, Kelsey Dew, and you probably heard her name before. She's working in collaboration with the Creative Savage team to collect data, because we're working towards publication in 2021 or early 2022. And so those two avenues of resources would be absolutely great if you wanted to retrieve information about some of the structures and the historical data for the town of Princeville.
Yeah, that would be great. Great. Okay. Kelsey, you want to talk? I think I let you talk. You just have to unmute yourself now.
Yes, I would like to talk. Please. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelsey Dew, and I would like to, second everything that Commissioner Joyner and Dr. Knight is saying about the Wooten property and the historical corridor of Princeville. But I also want to bring to the table about the 88 acres and looking into investing in agricultural components for the community, something like the Raleigh City Farm, or another example of a micro farm with vegetables and that sort of thing. So we are feeding into the community that way, and you can implement programs for youth, elderly, etc. through that. So I am very interested in the agricultural component of Princeville and the green space we have. So that's my 2 cents in on some of the things that I would like to see moving forward.
Great. And that's the historical coordinator is a different Kelsey, or is that you, Kelsey, as well? Sorry.
That is also me too. I historical research, and I also have an urban homestead here in Princeville.
Great, great.
Sounds like we need
Yeah, I
another
mean, and
visit.
that property, it has a history of agriculture out there. It's a really interesting property, and you know, looking at those two properties, we're talking, as a team about what are the future uses, but also phasing, like what happens when on those. In the 53 acres, there's kind of more going on with that right now with the grant for infrastructure and that sort of thing. So this 88 acres is really more of a long-term type question. What is going to happen there long-term, but that doesn't mean that there can't be something that happens more short-term. That it could be that there's a community garden or there's a parks or recreation option out there in the near term, and then long term the town reevaluates what to do with that. And there could be multiple things that happen on that property. For instance, if there's a community garden, well, there could be some residential homes around that, and it could be kind of a working part of that neighborhood in the future as well. So we can look at some of those different options and talk about the potential for that in the future. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Anybody else? Jamie Thomas wants to talk. You have to unmute yourself, Jamie, and feel free to chime in. Can you talk, Jamie? Okay, I gave you permission. You should be able to unmute yourself if you need to, but I can't hear you. And if you can't get it to work, you could put something in the chat if you need to. Okay, Jamie, I can't hear you. Sorry about that. Oh, so she put something in the chat. Jamie says, I was wondering about business coming to Princeville. I think that, economic development and commercial development of businesses is something that, we are going to look at from a land use perspective and say, these are some great places for new businesses. I think there's also some folks that are looking into kind of economic development initiatives for the town, and what types of businesses may want to locate here and what kinds of land they're looking for. And we're coordinating with that team as well to roll those recommendations into the plan. I don't know if you want to speak to that more, Dr. Knight.
Okay. No, I was responding in the chat area, but yes, the town is currently assessing the downtown area for an economic boost and looking at strategic ways to enhance the downtown area that might attract commercial businesses. And also on the 53 acres by way of the master plan, you will see that there's commercial opportunities in that space as well. And so we're looking at it being right off 64. So it's just idealistic to have commercial opportunities on that 53 acres. And so we're looking forward to attracting more businesses and subsequently attracting new residents to the town of Princeville while reclaiming the ones that we do have or ones that have been displaced.
Thank you for adding to that. The only thing that I'll add on top of that is that 53 acres from the two new properties, that 53 acres is more ideal for commercial development due to just proximity and access to 64 and that interchange. The 88 acres it has decent access, but the traffic volumes on those roads aren't very high. So and it has a lot of residential around it. So we probably wouldn't be recommending any commercial development out there. Unless it's like a farm stand or something small scale like that, they're related to agriculture or something else. Could be a civic use as well. You know, if there's a new, you know, opportunity for a recreation center or some kind of daycare or something like that, that could work. Okay, so Linda, do you have something you want to add? You should be able to unmute yourself if you do. Saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I was just trying to get clarity. Did you say that you would not recommend businesses under 53 acres? Is that what you said?
No, on the 88 acres.
88. Okay.
Yeah, because if you look at the 88 acres, it's kind of farther away from the highway and that sort of thing.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for the clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
just to
most
mention,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
But most definitely under 53 acres is where we are hoping for commercial businesses.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I you know, there's that initial concept plan that shows some commercial, and that's you know, subject to adjustment. If there, you know, that could be a little bit bigger if needed. You know, I think there's some flexibility there depending on demand and that sort of thing.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I think there is also an opportunity to tie in the previous comment about, you know, something to structure the youth's time and economic development. I think in our survey, we did mention, we provided as an option, you know, do you want to see more training programs and internships for the youth? So, you know, that really could be, you know, we can look into options where that would work for Princeville to address, you know, a bunch of these concerns at once.
Yeah, and if I mean, I think that we did touch on the economic development, you know, priorities for the town in that survey. So we really want as many people to take it as possible. There's, you know, also an opportunity on that survey to suggest, you know, ideas for businesses in Princeville, which would be really good. So yeah, so let's get as many people to take the survey as possible. Okay. Well, anybody have anything else to kind of add or any other questions before we kind of talk about next steps? Okay. We'll go ahead and move on and talk a little bit about what happens next. So the first thing that we want everybody to do is take the survey, tell your friends and neighbors about the survey. If you need paper copies of the survey, people are not comfortable going on their phone and taking the survey or going on a computer and taking the survey, let us know. You know, email Dr. Knight and we will get some paper copies of the survey to you. And we will find a way that you can drop them off at the town hall or we can come pick them up. So that there's a lot of options there. We want to get as many people to take the survey as needed, really over the next month or so. So help us out with that. You can also give specific feedback via the map. There is that online map. You can kind of drop little dots and tell us what you want where. So tell us about, you know, areas where businesses could go or areas that need some maintenance or there's a traffic issue or there's a flooding or stormwater issue or if there is a opportunity for historic preservation or something like that, that would be something we would want to know there. We are planning to have a drop-in public meeting. It'll be in March. You know, we like doing these online meetings, but we also like getting out in the community and giving folks an opportunity to come by. So sometime in March, it would likely be an outside event at Heritage Park. There will be social distancing. Everybody will have a mask on. So we will try to make it as safe as possible. And you know, hopefully situation gets better with the coronavirus over the next month or two too. So, but we will have, an in-person meeting option for folks. And then we'll probably also have another public meeting or in-person or online meeting later in the process where we have recommendations, and we want to kind of convey those recommendations to you all and get feedback and make sure we're on the right track before we kind of move forward with finalizing the plan. So that's kind of what's coming next. But I really appreciate everybody taking the time to join us tonight or catch this recording after the fact and just be aware of what's going on. Again, this is kind of a big deal for the town. This is the official town plan for Princeville. So we're really wanting everybody to be involved and really create a good roadmap for the town moving forward over the next 5-10 years. If you have questions, visit the project website there, or the town website has information on it as well, or you can contact Dr. Knight and she can get you in touch with me or one of the Stewart team, and we're happy to answer any questions that we need to. Other than that, if anybody doesn't have anything to add, I appreciate everybody's time, and you all have a good evening.
Thank you.
No problem. We'll see you.
Okay.